Hey, what's up guys? So, Attack on Titan chapter 107 is here. And holy crap, what the hell just happened in this chapter? Like seriously, if you thought there was a lot to unpack in the last chapter, well shit. This was one hell of a chapter. A lot of interesting stuff happened and there is a lot to talk about. And as always, these videos are going to contain spoilers. So if you haven't read the latest chapter, then what are you doing with your life? Seriously though, if you don't want spoilers, you might want to click on something else. If you're all cut up though, then let's get to it. Alright, first, let's start off with the thing that everybody is talking about. The big bomb that dropped this chapter. Historia is pregnant with an heir to the throne. And of course the question that's on everybody's mind is, who is the father? There's a lot of theories going around and a lot of really bad jokes. But go ahead and have your fun. Everybody knows that Attack on Titan fans are a bunch of perverts anyway. But anyway, we'll come back to Historia in a little bit. And I'll tell you guys who I think the father is near the end of this video. Go ahead and tell me who you think it is in the comments below. But before we get into all that, why don't we start with Eren in this chapter? Our boy Eren is getting a little bit scary now. And it's not just that he's taking actions that he feels he needs to take to protect the people of Paradis. He's threatening Hange now. What are you doing, Eren? Now on one hand, I do understand Eren's perspective. Like I mentioned in a previous video, Eren has a sense of urgency that the rest of the Survey Corps don't possess, simply because of the memories he's inherited and what he's experienced because of that. He has a perspective that he cannot fully share with anyone, no matter how hard he tries. So it's extremely frustrating for him that the rest of the people that he's working with are so hesitant in doing what he feels needs to be done. In between the scenes with Eren and Hange, we get a series of flashbacks from 2 years ago. We see that the harbor is finished and their first guest from another nation has arrived. It turns out that this person is Kiyomi Azumabito, the same person who talked to Willy before the festival and his untimely death. The same person that we saw walking away from the festival before all the shit went down. A lot of people, including myself, have been theorizing that she had something to do with all this, that she knew what was going to happen, and it looks like those theories were correct. Here we see her meeting with Historia for the first time, and she also meets Mikasa, who it is confirmed this chapter is indeed a descendant from the people of Hizuru. Kiyomi shows her a symbol of the Azumabito clan, and it turns out that Mikasa has the same symbol on her wrist. Well, this is interesting. Now, as we all know, in the beginning of the manga, there was a scene where Mikasa's mother was giving Mikasa some kind of mark or tattoo. This scene was cut out of the anime, and it was assumed that it was going to be omitted from the story, at least I thought so. But now it looks like Isayama has decided to bring it back. So this is interesting because I'm pretty sure Mikasa hasn't always had her wrist covered. I'm pretty sure that there have been moments in the manga and the anime when we've seen both her wrist exposed and she hasn't had that symbol, right? Another thing is, if this was something that Isayama was planning to incorporate into the story all this time, I feel like there would have had some kind of reference or hint or clue to the fact that Mikasa was hiding something under a bandage on her wrist. But it's never brought up, it's never noticed, nobody ever says anything about it. And like I said before, it hasn't even been there this whole time. It seems to me like it might have been an idea that Isayama decided he didn't want to do when they started the anime, but now maybe he's changed his mind and decided to incorporate it once again. Maybe he's repurposing it, maybe he has a new idea for it. Who knows what he's doing. Inevitably, it's gonna bother me a little bit because it's like one big continuity error, and continuity errors are kind of a pet peeve of mine, but anyway. If Isayama has decided to reincorporate this into the story, then I can only hope that it's for the better, and the story will be even more interesting for putting it back in. But anyway, what I am glad to see is Mikasa finally getting some time in the spotlight. She's gone throughout this whole story just kind of being Eren's sidekick. There hasn't been a whole lot of focus on her past, where she came from, and why she has the lineage that she does. But now we're starting to see a little bit of a glimpse into that. So despite the inconsistency, I'm still really interested to see where Isayama is going with this. And what this means for Mikasa isn't just that she's found the people she originated from, but is actually part of a prominent clan, the Azumabito clan itself. Kiyomi even calls her Hizuru's hope. So what is this gonna mean for Mikasa in the future? One thing we do know is if she's related to the Azumabito clan, she's definitely part of a very, very powerful family. So Mikasa's importance, both in the story and the world of Attack on Titan, has just shot up tenfold. So I'm really curious how Mikasa's gonna handle all this, being that she's also an Ackerman as well. We also learn in this flashback that Hizudu had an alliance with Paradis long ago, and some of the noble families from Hizudu came to live on the island, including some of the Azumabito clan, some of which were left behind when everything happened 100 years ago. And that's how Mikasa's mother and her parents wound up on the island, which explains why everybody within the walls are Eldians, except for the few Asians that live on the island. We then see a conversation between Kiyomi and Zeke Yeager, showing more about how all of this came about. Now we're going to really dig into these conversations in some later videos, but for now I'm just going to talk generally about what is going on here. Basically, Zeke met with Kiyomi and told her that he has royal blood, something that he has never told Marley. He also reveals that he has been a member of the Eldian Restorationists since he was born, and that the reason he sold his parents out to Marley is because he found out Marley was getting close to figuring out what his parents were up to. He feared that not only his parents, but his grandparents and himself would be taken to Paradis Island and turned into Titans if he didn't do something. So instead of just letting that happen, he took it upon himself to turn his parents in. Why? Because by showing that level of loyalty to Marley, Zeke ensured that his and his grandparents' lives would be spared, and that Marley would trust him. He had to do this because if he didn't, then the entire movement would have been crushed. He basically, by himself, carried on his father's ambitions, although not quite. He talks about the Restorationists with a bit of contempt. He calls them laughable idiots, and says that they could have never achieved the restoration of the Eldian Empire. So even though Zeke believes in restoring the Eldian Empire like his father did, he basically felt like they were doing a terrible job at it. I mean, they were about to get caught, so I guess that sentiment is kind of correct. He talks about how he had to kill people on Paradis Island despite the fact that he was really supposed to be saving them, and it was because he had to go along with the plan to recover the founding Titan, since Zeke and Marley both had the same goal, capturing the founding Titan. It would make sense for Zeke to kind of piggyback on Marley's ambitions, and then at the right moment, flip on them, which is exactly what he did. He also tells Kiyomi that nobody knows what happens when a Titan with royal blood and the founding Titan come together, at least not for now. Kiyomi doesn't seem all that impressed by all this, and she threatens to tell Marley about what Zeke is up to, as she doesn't want any harm to come to her clan or Hizudu. In response, Zeke pulls out a part of the 3D maneuver gear that he took from Mike. He tells her that inside it contains something called Ice Burst Stone, which it turns out is a unique mineral only found on Paradis Island. He tells her that the first king dug out a giant hole in Paradis and put flaming or shining stones in a reserve. And I think it's safe to say what he's probably referring to is obviously the giant crystal cave that we saw during the Uprising arc, which was full of these shining, bright crystals. I think it's also safe to say that this unique mineral must have something to do with the Titans. Back during the Uprising arc, I always just kind of assumed that the cave was created through the hardening ability of a Titan, just like the walls were, just like Annie's crystal. And I still think that could be true, but could it be possible that it's the other way around? Could this mineral be somehow responsible for the existence of the Titans? Whatever the case, I definitely think that the Titans and this unique resource are connected somehow. I mean, they have to be. Whatever the case may be, Kiyomi is so excited by the idea of these rich reserves of resources and the profits that Hizudu will get from mining them that she starts to drool at the table. Get a hold of yourself, Kiyomi. Yikes. As Pixis thinks to himself, of course they would want something out of this. Nobody's gonna come here and deal with Paradis Island, a nation that everybody else hates, just out of the kindness of their heart. Hizudu, of course, wants something from Paradis in exchange for what they're doing for them. Next, we find out that moving forward, our characters have 3 options. The first option is to show the world how destructive the coordinate actually is. Get people around the world scared so they won't try to attack Paradis. The second is for Hizudu to help Paradis catch up with the rest of the world's military advancements, but because Paradis is so far behind everyone else, it would take 50 years to catch up. The third option is to ensure that Paradis continues to have a Titan of royal blood and a Titan that possesses the coordinate, in such a way that the first king's will not be able to block them from using it. That means somebody on Paradis will have to volunteer to inherit the founding Titan, and someone of royal blood also needs to be a Titan. Since Historia is the only Fritz left aside from Zeke, in order to undertake this option, she would have to inherit the Beast Titan. Not only that, but she would have to produce offspring, who could then inherit the Titan after her. This means history will start repeating itself yet again. Historia, understanding this, volunteers to inherit the Beast Titan. Eren once again stands up in the middle of the meeting, and interestingly enough, seems to be singing a very different tune than he was before. And this is after the gun range scene. It seems at this point Eren still wasn't quite certain of what exactly he thought needed to happen. He says if our survival depends on being forced to breed like livestock and dying in the process, then after having been violated after the destruction of the walls, then I can't accept Zeke Yeager's plan. It's dangerous for us to leave our fate to ensuring that the rumbling stays available to us. Wouldn't the best plan to be consider all available options in the time we have left? Kiyomi agrees and says yes, there's no time to rush to conclusions. So what exactly does this say about Eren's thought process right now, during this moment 2 years ago? He says he wants to consider all available options, which makes him sound a lot like Armin during the shooting range scene. So maybe in this moment, he is actually considering that Armin might be right. Then again, it seems like the only thing he's really opposed to is having to force Historia to produce offspring. Regardless, none of these options are very favorable solutions. What they're saying is they could basically either terrorize the whole world with a demonstration of what the rumbling can do. The second is to try to catch up technologically to be able to defend themselves with military power, but that'll take a long time, and they're still going to need some way to protect themselves in the meantime. And the third option is, of course, to take steps to continue the possession of a Titan with royal blood and the founding Titan. Which really, it seems to me like none of these options would really work on their own. They all kind of seem to be in conjunction with each other, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Survey Corps and Paradis Island decided to do all of them, except for the very first one, which is of course the choice Eren ultimately decided to make when he attacked the festival. And while he didn't actually use the power of the coordinate in that attack, he did succeed in demonstrating to the world how terrifying the Titans actually are, and the kind of power Paradis actually possesses. Not to mention, they're an even greater threat now than they were before, because now they have Zeke, the Warhammer Titan, and not to mention all of this new technology and outside connections that is going to help make Paradis more powerful. After all of these flashbacks are over, we get back to Eren and Hange. She says, I thought we were feeling the same level of anxiety as you were. But I don't understand why you have exposed this island to danger by acting alone. Do you no longer care what happens to Historia? That's when Eren tells her that he ate the Warhammer Titan, which I don't know if anybody's mentioned before since they got back to the island, but this at least confirms for us that Eren does in fact have the Warhammer Titan. We then have a really scary moment with Eren. I mean, Eren is like really intimidating in this scene. Eren's eyes get all wide and he stares Hange down and he tells her, this Titan's ability is to freely create things from the ground through its hardening ability. It was a tiring opponent, so there's no use in keeping me confined underground. I can get out of here whenever I want. Of course, there's no way you'd be able to kill me, since I possess the founding Titan. No matter how much you threaten to, you can't kill Zeke either. So Hange, what can you do? And he freaking grabs her by the collar and he starts yelling at her, tell me, Hange, tell me! Is there another way? And we see this panel of Eren's eyes, and it almost looks like he's about to transform. But Hange slaps his hand away and runs off, and she's kind of throwing out semi-humorous insults, but once she gets to the other side of the door, she says to herself, Erwin, this is the only mistake you made. Why did you make a person like me commander? Now I gotta feel bad for Hange. Clearly she's feeling the weight of her position as commander, and she really doesn't know what to do at this point. Now you can interpret this as showing that Erwin really should have been the one that was saved during the Serum Bowl, and maybe you'd be right. However, this could be opening the door or hinting at the possibility that Armin will become commander soon. We could see that Erwin believed in Armin when he made him the leader of a group of soldiers during the Return to Shingeki arc, and then turns to someone else and says that Armin is their greatest weapon. And it's been hinting throughout the story that Armin is going to take on some kind of leadership role, or even that Armin is going to become the quote-unquote hero of the story. And if Eren becomes the villain, which it looks like he kind of is, and Eren and Armin are definitely going different directions, then I suppose it only makes sense. It seems that they're definitely going to be opposing each other at some point. But anyway, we then get to a scene at the cemetery. We see Mikasa sitting at a gravestone, and she hears some commotion behind her. She finds that it's Niccolo. One of the Paradis natives is offended that he's there because he's a Marleyan soldier, but Niccolo shows genuine sadness for Sasha's death. It seems that during the time he'd been captured here, he'd developed a friendship, or maybe even feelings for Sasha. Niccolo even seems downright devastated. He falls to his knees at her grave and asks, "What did you guys do? She was shot by a girl who made it onto the blimp? How ridiculous." They then speculate to whether she was a warrior cadet, as Mikasa points out that she'd been trained. And then Jean apologizes to Niccolo, telling him that he was careless. Niccolo doesn't understand that, though. He asks, "Why are you apologizing to me? All I did was prep the meals." And Connie puts his hand on his shoulder and says thank you for feeding her. Lots of delicious food, Niccolo. He asks Connie how he's doing, and Connie tells him, "Sasha and I were practically like twins. It feels like half of me has disappeared." So, that really sucks. Poor Connie. Sasha and Connie were truly two peas in a pod. I mean, Connie's got nobody to goof around with like an idiot anymore. That sucks. So then some people approach, and we see that it's Sasha's father and the rest of her family. He takes off his hat and he says, "It seems that my daughter is indebted to you." And Niccolo says, "Excuse me, I'm just a prisoner of war, but I was put to work as a cook. Your daughter ate my meals so well, more than anyone, so if you don't mind, please let me cook for you sometime." And Sasha's dad smiles and he says, "It's free, right?" Niccolo says, yes. And then they shake hands. So, that was a nice little moment, wasn't it? But it's not over yet, there is more. In the next scene, we're at a fortress. And this is a really interesting scene because I have no idea what the hell's going on here. We see that Yelena and her group of defectors have brought Titan serums over from Marley. However, they still don't know how to make them. We can feel a lot of tension between Pixis and Yelena, and it seems that for some reason, the defectors are being held at gunpoint. Pixis tells Yelena that they're indebted to them, and Yelena looks disappointed, saying, "I thought we had demonstrated our friendliness towards you these past 3 years. It's a shame. These guns we brought with us are guns that bring freedom to Eldians." And Pixis says, "Apologies for our shortcomings, but can you turn a blind eye to our weaknesses for now? There's no way we can't keep Zeke imprisoned." Yelena says, "It's fine, Commander Pixis, for there will come a day when we dine around the same table." And Pixis says the ones who await that day are us. So I don't know what the hell is going on here, but things definitely aren't going as smoothly as they seem to at first. Even after 3 years, there still seems to be a lot of distrust. And now that the people of Paradis have guns, they're actually threatening to use them against the people who gave them to them. That's not very cool, is it? But something must have happened to prompt this kind of reaction from Paradis. Why on earth would they be doing this right now? The next scene we see Zeke and Levi. It looks like Levi has taken Zeke to the forest of giant trees, basically saying it would be the best prison for him. Zeke asks about Gabi and Falco, who we then have a scene with. We see Gabi fake out one of the guards so that he opens up the door. She bashes him in the face, and then her and Falco run away. Wow, I can't believe they actually made it out of that cell. I know that most people hate this character, but I gotta give her credit. She's pretty smart and she's pretty tough. So say what you want, I'm really interested to see what happens with this character. We switch scenes again for like the 15th time in this manga, and we finally see Reiner and his abs. Pike and Porco are both there. They appear to be in a hospital of some kind. Galliard hands him a bottle and says, "Did he have a bad dream again? It would be better if this was all a dream." And Reiner says, "I heard the voices of Gabi and Falco. Where are the two of them?" So, Reiner's finally waking up for the first time since all this shit went down. He's asking about Gabi and Falco, and it's gonna be interesting to see what he does when he finds out what happened. When he finds out that they're back on Paradis Island. I'm guessing he's definitely gonna want to go after them, and that his desire to protect Gabi and Falco and bring them back home is probably gonna give him a new lease on life. a new reason to keep going. In the final panels, of course, we get the big moment. We see Historia sitting in a rocking chair outside a cottage, and we see that she is with child. A man comes out and tells her to come inside, and that she should be more careful with her body. So, now that we've finally gotten to the end of this sucker, holy crap, that was a lot of shit to absorb. I'm still trying to absorb it. I'm not quite sure what the hell's going on anymore, but we'll discuss all that serious stuff in my future discussion videos. For now, let's do something a lot more fun. Let's play a game, and this game is called Who's the Daddy? So I know this is what everybody's been talking about. Who's the father? Who's the father? Who's the father? Who did it with Historia? You guys are a bunch of perverts. You know that? Was it Eren? Was it Levi? Was it John? Was it Connie? Was it Armin? Was it Niccolo? Please tell me it's not Flock. We don't need any more of those little bastards running around. But anyway, everybody wants to know who the daddy is. So go ahead and say who you think it is down below. Why not? Fuck it. Let's do it. This fandom is gonna be like Maury Povich for the next month. So who do I think it is? Well, I will tell you. Judging by our last few experiences in this manga, when there was some mystery and we were waiting for somebody to be revealed, whoever this person was, like the head of the Tiber family or the holder of the Warhammer Titan, it's always been just some random ass person. So I'm guessing it's just gonna be some random dude this time. Oh yeah, I guess some people are saying that it might be Zeke. What the fuck, guys? Isn't that like incest or something? It's only been 100 years. If Historia and Zeke have very close relatives, that wouldn't have been enough time to like separate the gene pool enough for them to like have kids and them not be born with like an arm growing out of their face or something. So if it was Zeke and Historia, I think that'd be kind of gross. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Tell me what you thought of this chapter in the comments below. And yes, we are going to discuss this chapter more in depth with the official translation. So hopefully things will be a bit more clear when we do that in my future discussion videos. But anyway, make sure to share your thoughts and your theories in the comments below. So that's it for my review of this chapter. Holy crap, was that a lot of stuff to talk about. And I don't feel like we've even scratched the surface. I mean, seriously, it almost feels like we're starting a whole new story. I mean, with Historia having a baby, and this whole Osmobito thing and Mikasa going on too. Like, where is this story going? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Alright guys, anyway, it's time to wrap this up. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, comment, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Visit me on Facebook and Twitter, and check out my Patreon if you want to help support this channel. Thanks again so much for watching, and come back soon for more awesome Attack on Titan content. See you next time. Peace.